Live from KSAT 12, the Nightbeat starts right now.
We begin tonight with an eye on the weather. So far, there has been a lot of severe weather in West Texas throughout the day, everything from hail to tornadoes. And while it's been pretty quiet here at home so far, meteorologist Katie Blake has been keeping a very close eye on radar.
Yeah, she joins us for an update now. Katie, what's the latest?
Well, I'll tell you guys, things are looking pretty good. Folks really want some more rain, right? But we don't want to have to deal with the severe weather. Currently, the rain and storms still well west of San Antonio, starting to work into some of our westernmost counties and communities. Comstock, Del Rio, even parts of Edwards, Kinney, and Maverick counties. There are no severe weather watches or warnings currently posted. That is some really good news. All of this activity is gradually moving east, and it's going to make a run at San Antonio, the I-35 and 281 corridors over the next several hours. I will tell you, though, the one cluster of storms that I'm watching is just west of Eagle Pass. This is the most intense cluster of storms out there currently. It is still west of the Rio Grande, but we've likely got some pretty big hail in this storm and a lot of lightning too. So I'm going to watch this particular storm cell really closely here as it moves east. So if you're watching us from Eagle Pass, just know you may have some hail on the way here within the next hour or so. The rest of the activity are just spotty pockets of some moderate to heavy rain with some rumbles of thunder, flashes of lightning. So as all this continues to move east tonight, I do expect it to continue to weaken, although it could be briefly intense in some of our westernmost counties like Maverick County and Eagle Pass. I've got more radar updates for you coming up throughout the hour, as well as a look at your forecast for the week ahead. Guys.
Thank you, Katie. Continuing our coverage now of the spike of loose and stray dogs seen all around San Antonio. Today, a group of rescues hosted a town hall where they invited members of the city and animal care services to discuss this problem.
As Night Team Lee Waldman reports tonight, a lot of it boils down to a spay and neutering issue.
We see them roaming the streets, filling rescues and at animal care services. Stray, loose, even owner-surrendered dogs and cats.
Most of the rescue community is just tired, overwhelmed, underfunded, and we need help from the city.
Deanna Lee organized this town hall at Braun Hall on the northwest side. Today, over 20 of the local rescues were represented. The goal, to lay out issues they're facing when trying to help animals across San Antonio.
Spay-neuter is the most important component in addressing this stray population in the city.
If they're not born, they don't roam the streets and ultimately fill ACS or rescue shelters. But there's still one more problem with that solution.
We're only building about 2,500 to 3,000 vets a year. There's currently a deficit of about 7,000.
With not enough veterinarians, the number of animals waiting to be spayed and neutered continues to grow. Sims says in the long term, they won't fix the city's problem without that demand being met.
The root of the problem is a lack of spay-neuter in the community. Both whether the city's paying for it or who's paying for it, there is not enough to service our community right now.
This part of the equation won't be solved in the short term. Because of that, rescuers are asking the community to foster.
Our most immediate need right now is for fosters, because the animals that were born need homes.
Sims with ACS mentioned he's hopeful that the bond, which includes a new veterinary hospital, will be approved by voters on May 7th. It'll double their spay and neuter capabilities and allow them to recruit more veterinarians. Reporting live, Lee Waldman, KSAT 12 News. Lee, thank you. A driver will not face any charges after running over and killing a woman who ran across the highway naked. But that's not where the incident began. Around 1:35 a.m. on I-10 West near Martin Luther King Drive, the woman ran up to a Via Transit police officer in his patrol unit. That officer says she was incoherent and wasn't wearing clothing, so he called EMS and requested a female officer. The officer says the woman became confrontational, so he restrained her for her safety. Before EMS got there, the woman ran off into oncoming traffic on I-10, where she was hit and killed.
Arson investigators are looking into the cause of an apartment fire that left several people displaced overnight over on the west side. That fire broke out around 2 a.m. at the Meadow Springs Ranch Apartments on Marbach Oaks near Petranco Road. When fire crews arrived there, they evacuated the building and stopped that fire from spreading to other buildings. The fire affected the first floor of the building where no one was home. However, the units did sustain significant smoke and fire damage. No injuries were reported.
An update now. The body of the teenage fisherman who disappeared near the Galveston County coast has now been recovered after more than a 33 hours long search. The U.S. Coast Guard making that announcement tonight. We also know the name of that teenager is Yair Rodriguez. His body was found around 5:30 this evening in the middle of San Luis Pass and brought to shore where his family and first responders waited. Rodriguez was last seen Saturday night when he was wade fishing near the San Luis Pass Bridge.
Becoming a teacher here in Texas could soon look a lot different and be a lot more difficult. The State Board for Education certification made a major step forward in potentially adopting a new rigorous teacher certification exam. Here to tell us what that could mean for future teachers, the night team's John Paul Barajas.
The State Board voted in favor of requiring the Educative Teacher Performance Assessment in an 8-1 vote on Friday. This new licensing test would replace the old Guidance and Professional Responsibilities exam. That test, which has been used since 2002, consisted of 100 multiple choice questions. The new test requires teachers to submit answers to essay-style questions, provide a sample lesson plan, and a 15-minute video of themselves teaching in the classroom. Supporters of this test say it'll better support and retain new teachers by pinpointing what they might lack. Those who oppose it say it creates barriers because it costs nearly $200 more than the PPR test. Now, this new test is not in effect yet. It was only passed by the Board for Educator Certification. The State Board of Education will need to approve it in a vote as well, which is expected to happen in June. If approved, the new test will become optional next school year, then required for the 2023-2024 school year before becoming permanent the following year. Tim, Courtney.
Thank you, John Paul. Well, today is May 1st, which means it's the first day of Asian Pacific Islander American Heritage Month. People gathered at San Antonio Museum of Art to celebrate today. There were performances from the Vietnamese Association dancers, Chinese fan dancers, and even dragon dancers. Different animals are placed together to create the dragon used in the traditional dance.
This is dragon head. Normally we'll have like a horse or camel head. And the tail, no, the body is like a snake shape. Yes, and we also have the scale on this one is a fish. And now we also have the claws like a tiger claw.
Those in attendance also got to enjoy mock porcelain painting, expressive mask creation, and Japanese and Chinese games.
To local politics now. Election day here in Bexar County just 6 days away, and that means there's only 2 days left of early voting. So far in Bexar County, just a little more than 25,400 people have cast their votes. Some popular locations being used so far: the Brook Hollow, IGO and Maverick libraries. Early voting will continue tomorrow and Tuesday. Polling hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. To see a sample ballot or for more listing of polling locations where you can go vote, go to KSAT.com. Election day next Saturday is May 7th. Ukrainians evacuated from the steel plant in Mariupol under siege from Russians after their attacks temporarily halted. It follows a visit by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to that war-torn country. The House Speaker visiting with President Zelensky. ABC's Mona Kosar-Abdi has the latest.
In Mariupol, an urgent and dangerous rescue operation at a bombed-out steel plant. Video released by the Russian Defense Ministry shows women and children leaving that bombed-out steel plant, a risky joint effort which included the UN and the Red Cross. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirms about 100 civilians escaped. Natalia, an employee at the steel plant, says she spent weeks in the bomb shelter. The shelling was so strong and it kept hitting near us, she says. I was afraid to even walk out and breathe some fresh air. Moments after the evacuation, Ukrainian officials say Russian forces started firing on the plant. Zelensky releasing video of his meeting with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who made an unannounced visit to the country Saturday with a congressional delegation. Nice to meet you. Speaker Pelosi, the most senior U.S. official to visit Kyiv. In neighboring Poland, where she visited afterwards, she pledged more U.S. aid.
America stands with Ukraine. We stand with Ukraine until victory is won.
President Zelensky calling the visit productive. Me and Ms. Pelosi held 4 hours of very substantive talks, including defense supplies, macro financial assistance, sanctions policy, and political engagement with the United States. On ABC's This Week, Ukraine's ambassador to the U.S. says it's been an eye-opening 2 months.
We are trying and we're doing everything possible on the battlefield, but also on the diplomatic front to stop this war as soon as possible. But as this war was started by Russians, it has to be ended by Russians.
Mona Kosarabdi, ABC News, New York.
Still ahead on the Nightbeat, the last 2 survivors of the Tulsa race massacre are still fighting for justice. The latest on their lawsuit and what they hope to get out of it. Plus, 7 deaths in a year. That is the key point of a military investigation of a U.S. naval ship. What the victims' families believe is the cause of the rise in deaths on board.
Plus, a neighbor devastated by the loss of 2 children in a house fire. Hear the reaction from family members who were nearby when it happened. Two children are dead tonight following a horrific fire at a house yesterday in Galveston. Neighbors say they tried to save the children, but police stopped them because it was too dangerous. From our sister station in Houston, KPRC's Bill Barajas reports.
Cell phone footage shows the flames bursting from an upstairs window. Firefighters on the ground can be seen battling the blaze. James Rogers' house is connected to that very home. He said the children inside were family members.
They were my cousin and niece.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. What are their names?
Logan and Jade.
Fire officials say reports of the fire came in at about 2:35 a.m. The children and their father were inside the home at the time. Dad able to get out. The children were stuck inside. One neighbor telling us they scrambled to get the word out and asked we not show his face.
One of my friends went and tried to crawl up there to get in the window, but police told him to get down, so he got down.
Their worst fear confirmed when they say mom made it back home a short time later.
She made it about 20 minutes later, and I could tell what she was screaming. It wasn't good news.
Veronica Von Blon, a neighbor nearby, telling us the entire community is heartbroken. The family in their thoughts and prayers.
You see something like this, and it's just so sad. It really is. It's just sad.
That was Bill Barajas reporting. Galveston officials say the kids were taken to a nearby hospital, and that's where they later died. The cause of the fire unknown and under investigation by the Galveston Fire Marshal and arson crews.
Back here at home, it is being called the most technologically advanced entertainment venue, and you can only find it right here in San Antonio. We are talking about the new Techport Center and Arena. This morning, as part of our Leading SA segment, we spoke to the president of Port SA. He discussed what value it will bring to the area along with the future.
Our goal is to have 1% of those kids get inspired enough that they want to pursue the types of programs that are offered through SAMSAT, whether that's cyber programs, rocketry programs, robotics, or computer programs. And if we do that, and we're creating a pathway for 1,500 young people a year to become entrepreneurship ready, to become job ready, to become college ready, then we think we're doing something really special for the community.
Some neat stuff happening there. Tomorrow is the first day the new Techport Center will be open to the public. To watch the full interview or see past interviews on Leading SA, just head over to KSAT.com.
Taking a look outside with live cam, we are eyes on the west, Katie,
yes,
because that's incoming.
Yes, everything's coming in from the west. And something I want to kind of stress to folks that they're watching now and they'll be heading to bed by 11:30 or so. The severe weather threat is going to be mainly well to the west for some of our westernmost communities. By the time a lot of this gets to San Antonio, New Braunfels, Boerne, Castroville, Pleasanton, it's going to be in a very weakened state. So you can go to bed here in the next couple of hours and not be overly concerned about a lot of severe weather overnight. I can't rule out you hearing a rumble of thunder, seeing a flash of lightning, but as far as any of the big hail, the damaging winds, there will be a window for that here the next couple of hours, but mainly well west of San Antonio in some of our westernmost communities. And we're going to get to radar here very briefly, but here is how your storm chances play out overnight. They do start to pick up here in the next couple of hours. hours. I think we'll have some spotty showers showing up here through about 11 p.m. and midnight. And then again, a few rumbles of thunder will be possible after midnight, let's say through about 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And then we'll be left with some lingering shower activity early tomorrow morning. But it shouldn't be anything that has a dramatic impact on the Monday morning commute. So here's a current look at live radar. There's San Antonio. All the lightning strikes here, these white lines that you see, all the thunderstorm activity is still well to the west, but we're starting to see some lightning in Uvalde County west of Concan, southwest of Leakey, around the city of Del Rio, even up past the lake and toward Comstock. And then down in Maverick County, mainly northern Maverick County, we've also got some non-severe storms that have some lightning, little bit of heavy rain, but that's about it. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, what I'll be watching here really closely is this cluster of storms that's still west of the Rio Grande. It's pretty much due west of Eagle Pass. This is an intense cluster of storms with likely some large hail. And look at all this lightning here. Also some very heavy rain. I want to put radar into motion so you can get an idea of how this is moving. And it is moving east with maybe a little southeasterly component. So those of you that maybe are in Maverick County south of Eagle Pass will be paying close attention to this storm for you, because as it gets closer to the Rio Grande, we could be talking about some large hail here, and that's where we could maybe see a few severe thunderstorm warnings, but I expect that to really be limited to our westernmost county. So Crystal City, Carrizo Springs, also I'll keep an eye out on that storm for you. But that's the most intense storm that's in our area. We do have some rumbles of thunder again out to the west, but that's about it. Let me switch radar sites really quickly. We're looking at our westernmost radar, and I want to show you our radar site near New Braunfels. We do have a couple of little light showers popping up here. You can see them in western Bexar County there, right along 1604. So out near SeaWorld, Alamo Ranch, some very light rain showers are starting to pick up. That also extends up toward Medina Lake. So around San Antonio locally, things are quiet. But again, I expect we'll see the shower activity pick up over the next couple of hours. And then after midnight, can't rule out some rumbles of thunder. So here's what Futurecast looks like. This model has a pretty good job with placement of storms so far. It's actually just been a little bit slow. It's lagging just a bit. These storms have been moving eastward at a little quicker pace. So by midnight, again, we've got this cluster of storms as it's trying to hang on, moving east from the Rio Grande, likely in a weakened state. So as this moves east of the Rio Grande, it's going to gradually weaken and fizzle out. So that's why I expect by the time we have some rumbles of thunder around San Antonio, that's really about it. Some heavy rain, some thunder that may briefly wake up the kiddos or the pets, but I'm not concerned about big hail by the time those storms get here. So just keep that in the back of your mind. If you're woken up tonight, just know as these storms continue to pace toward us, if they can make it here, we're likely just looking at some rumbles of thunder. By early tomorrow morning, some lingering sprinkles possible, and I can't rule out a little shower here or there even into tomorrow afternoon, but things shouldn't be too bad for the morning commute. So here's how things look over the next 12 hours. Again, we start to pick up your rain chances here for a few rumbles of thunder after midnight, continuing through the overnight hours, tapering off as we get closer to the Monday morning drive, but a few isolated showers and sprinkles can't be ruled out early tomorrow morning, and essentially even through about early afternoon on Monday, just with some lingering cloud cover and moisture. Few isolated showers possible. Windy tomorrow, breezy on Tuesday. The wind picks up again on Wednesday with isolated showers and storms, and then a better chance of some scattered thunder showers returns on Thursday. I'll have another look at radar for you coming up in the next half hour, guys.
Thank you, Katie. Greg will be along with a preview of Instant Replay right after this. Dallas Cowboys wind up with 9 picks in the NFL draft. Did they get what they needed? Let's find out by checking in with our Greg Simmons with a preview of tonight's Instant Replay.
Some say yes, some question the first pick. Much is the case with Houston, and then why the Texans' first pick in the NFL draft is raising a few eyebrows. Coming up tonight on a brand new edition of Instant Replay.
The Dallas Cowboys select Tyler Smith, tackle, Tulsa.
Nice helmet. Everyone with the Dallas Cowboys seem to be pretty pleased with who they were able to draft over the last 3 days, including their number 1 pick, Tyler Smith, out of Tulsa. And who did they select to try and replace Randy Gregory? We will show you.
With the 3rd pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Derek Stingley Jr.,
right,
defensive back, LSU.
Sorry, Commissioner. The Texas top draft pick at number 3 overall is raising a few eyebrows since quarterback Derek Stingley Jr. has missed so many games over the last 2 seasons with injuries, including playing in just 3 games last year for LSU. Will he be able to step in right away to help the Texas defensive secondary?
What did it mean to you to have your family here and everybody watching you at that moment?
It's unbelievable. No, you only dream about things like this, and to have my loved ones around, my close ones, it's just a lot more of a better feeling.
And as many as 4 San Antonio area athletes are drafted by various teams, including former Justin Rocket and fighting Texas Aggie DeMarvin Leal. But as it turns out, he wasn't the first football player from San Antonio selected this weekend. We'll let you know who that is. All that plus, San Antonio FC continues their dominance on the pitch. And who did a better job in the 2022 NFL Draft? The Dallas Cowboys or the Houston Texans tonight? You decide. Instant replays live and is right after the night beat.
Another exciting half hour on the way.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Greg. But first, we've got another half hour of news. We'll be back right after. A military investigation now underway after 4 apparent suicides, all happening on one U.S. Navy ship.
The ship is one of America's massive aircraft carriers, the USS George Washington.
ABC's Phil Lipoff speaks to one of the victims' families about what they hope to get out of that investigation.
A sharp rise in crew suicide on a Navy ship, the USS George Washington, docked in Virginia under scrutiny as hundreds of sailors are moved off the ship. The Navy confirming there have been 7 deaths in the last 12 months of service members assigned to the ship. 4 of them apparent suicides, 3 in 1 week this month. Natalie and Lamonte's son, Mikhail, one of them.
All I can constantly think about is when he was born. His smile.
In a statement, the Navy says the circumstances surrounding these incidents vary, and it is premature to make assumptions, as some incidents remain under investigation. One thing is clear. All 7 deaths happened while the ship has been in port undergoing an overhaul. Last week, the Navy's senior enlisted person, Master Chief Russell Smith, addressed sailors' concerns on the ship. Heard here in audio obtained by the Military Times.
I'm going to tell you that I understand that we still have a problem, and the department has been focusing on it, but the problem is getting suicide is like getting cancer. There are many different causes, many different reasons.
Following the deaths, the Navy says it put into place immediate mental health support, deploying a 13-person special psychiatric rapid intervention team, adding 1 clinical psychologist and a clinical social worker to the ship, and expediting mental health referrals.
You think that maybe your son's death could have been stopped somehow?
It's still a mystery to me.
Yeah, honestly, it's a mystery because it's sudden and it was out of the blue.
That was Phil Lipoff reporting. In 2020, 580 service members died by suicide, according to the Defense Department. The suicide rate has increased in all the military branches over the previous 5 years. If you or anyone you know is suffering, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255.
Around America tonight, the U.S. Marshals offering up to $10,000 for information leading to the arrest of an escaped murder suspect from Alabama, along with a corrections officer he was last seen with. On Friday, Officer Vicky White told her supervisor she was taking inmate Casey White, who isn't related to her, to court for an alleged mental health evaluation. Officials say the officer later claimed she wasn't feeling well and was going to the doctor after dropping the inmate off. That's an appointment she never went to, though, and there was no sign of them after that.
Because it was never supposed to happen to start with. He had no scheduled appearances. It seems like it was orchestrated.
The patrol car the 2 took off from the detention center was spotted in a nearby parking lot. Officer White had been with the department for nearly 17 years and had an unblemished record. In fact, that was supposed to be her last day at work before she was set to retire.
Well, the fight to make things right for descendants and survivors of the infamous Tulsa race massacre 100 years ago. It's an important court date tomorrow that could be critical in their fight for justice. ABC's Steve Osunsami speaks to one of the last 3 survivors of the massacre about what getting justice means to her.
Tell me about... She's the oldest living survivor of the Tulsa race massacre of 1921.
My name is Viola Ford Fletcher. 107 years old.
And this morning, she's hoping that a judge in Oklahoma will allow a lawsuit she's a part of to move forward. The hearing is Monday afternoon.
Is it safe to say you and the other survivors are pushing for payments?
Yes, whatever it takes to replace our loss. Yes.
In your lifetime?
Yes, sir. While I'm living.
In many households across this country, they put respect on her name and call her Mother Fletcher because of what she's overcome. She and 2 other survivors still living are suing the city of Tulsa, their sheriff, and other authorities for damages that are more than 100 years old. When she was just a child, she and her family ran for their lives after a mob of their white neighbors destroyed the Greenwood district, known to many as Black Wall Street, one of the most prosperous black communities in America.
That night, when we was aroused by the parents, what was going on, all the shooting and killing and fires and airplanes, people screaming, people lying on the streets bleeding.
In the lawsuit, her attorney argues that the destruction of black homes and public executions of black people were allowed by authorities, and that those authorities can now be sued under a state public nuisance law. They're suing for a victims' compensation fund that could potentially mean hundreds of millions of dollars.
I'm not the judge, but I do believe that the law and the facts are on our side.
A similar effort to go after drug makers for the state's opioid crisis recently failed. And Tulsa's mayor, who led the effort to help find missing black victims from the massacre, is against having today's taxpayers pay for yesterday's crimes. Steve Osunsami, ABC News, Atlanta.
Ms. Fletcher says she's running out of time to see justice for her family. She turns 108 years old on May 10th.
Happening tomorrow, the next round of real-life drama for actor Johnny Depp and ex-wife Amber Heard, with Heard reportedly set to take the stand in a Virginia courtroom. Depp filing a defamation suit against Heard for $50 million. Heard countersuing for $100 million. So far, the trial highlighted by days of testimony airing the former couple's dirty laundry, and there was plenty of it. Heard has accused Depp of repeatedly assaulting her throughout their relationship, including in 2015, where she claims in court documents that he headbutted her. Depp denies ever hitting her during their relationship.
Baseball legend Jackie Robinson's All-Star Game bat sold for $1 million in auction yesterday. Golden Auctions announced the sale of the 1949 bat, which came directly from Rachel Robinson, Jackie's widow. It's rare for a baseball bat to fetch more than $1 million. The most expensive piece of Jackie Robinson memorabilia is a game-worn Brooklyn Dodgers jersey. His famous number 42 jersey sold for more than $4.2 million last year.
All right, another peek outside with live cam. Not a whole lot happening around San Antonio and Bexar County. We do have a couple of light showers starting to pop up, but all the storms are still well to the west. And I've got another look at radar coming up here very shortly. But first, a look at high temperatures today. It was a hot afternoon. High temperatures, low 90s around San Antonio, a high of 90 in New Braunfels, 95 Pleasanton, and 96 in Cotulla. Currently, a lot of us are still sitting near 80 degrees, so it is still warm and it is still muggy. But again, aside from a few showers around San Antonio, all the action is still well to the west. We don't have any severe weather watches or warnings posted currently, but I'm still watching this very strong storm west of the Rio Grande, west of Eagle Pass. It likely has some hail in it, and also a lot of lightning around Del Rio, across Kinney County, even northern Maverick County there north of Eagle Pass. Non-severe activity, just some pockets of heavy rain, flashes of lightning, and rumbles of thunder. We'll dig into radar more, give you another look at what you can expect overnight and tomorrow, coming up in a bit.
Thank you, Katie. Well, stalling new releases this weekend means it's anyone's game to be number one at the box office. We have results coming up.
And from chart-topping hits to getting personal about her mental health, we'll take a look back at all that was accomplished by Naomi Judd.
Well, we are taking time to celebrate the life of country music legend Naomi Judd.
Yeah, her death announced just a day before she and her daughter Winona were set to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame.
ABC's Chris Connolly takes us back to the legacy she leaves behind.
Let me hear y'all clap those hands if you really do listen to country music.
Irresistibly charismatic on stage, offstage, an admired matriarch who later in life would share her struggles with mental health. Naomi Judd had a special place in the hearts of millions of country fans. Through the 80s, Naomi Judd performing with daughter Wynonna as the Judds.
Rocking with the rhythm of the rain.
Sashaying to the beat or singing sweet harmonies, Naomi Judd proved an ideal complement to Wynonna's superb talent. The result, 14 country number ones for the Judds. Before finally getting a label to take interest, Naomi Judd had spent time on public assistance and was working as a nurse in Nashville. 1990, the Judds last year, bringing one of their signature songs, Love Can Build a Bridge.
Don't you think it's time?
Later, there'd be reunions with Wynonna and a tour, daughter Ashley Judd conquering Hollywood. Then in 2016, Naomi Judd sharing her very personal story with Robin Roberts.
I have to say something right off the bat because I trust you so much. It's because I know people will realize I don't look like I usually look. My hands shake real bad. Medication, nothing I can do about it.
Telling of her ordeal and her desire to help others.
My final diagnosis was severe depression. It really felt like if I live through this, I want someone to be able to see that they can survive.
Her courageous words, increasing vital awareness of the private struggles that so many face, inspiring others to seek treatment.
Because there's 40 million of us out there. Is so the people around them can understand this is a disease.
Her own struggle coming to an end on Saturday, the day before the Judds were to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Naomi Judd was 76.
Lots of activity on radar to our west tonight.
Yes, and folks are really itching for a little bit more rain, right? We had that, it was about this time a week ago, Monday, that we got some good rain around the area, and folks want a little bit more, but we can do it without the hail. And I do think by the time the activity to the west gets to San Antonio overnight, we're not really looking at concern for severe weather. Certainly some rumbles of thunder that could wake you up, but the concern for hail issues is going to stay way off to the west over the next few hours. Time lapse from today, a lot of clouds, but we managed to sneak in some sun this afternoon. 72 your morning low, up to 91 today. There was a lot of severe weather across parts of West Texas earlier this afternoon and this evening, and still some ongoing severe weather mainly to our north. We've got a severe thunderstorm watch box from just north of Austin up to west of the Metroplex, and even some lingering severe storms up in the northern tier of the Texas Panhandle. A couple tornadoes reported off in West Texas today, but a lot of hail reports. Look at this, all the way from Amarillo down through Lubbock, Midland, Odessa, even closer to the Abilene area. So those dry line supercells fired off a lot of hail this afternoon. Now, the storms that we're going to be dealing with tonight are not like that, and that's why, again, our severe weather risk is very, very low. In fact, it's minimal. So here's what you're looking at overnight. As we get into the next couple of hours, I do expect we'll see a couple more showers start to pop up around San Antonio. And then after midnight, 2 a.m., potentially a couple rumbles of thunder with these chances of showers lingering through the pre-dawn hours of Monday morning. A few lingering sprinkles not out of the question early tomorrow, but any rumbles of thunder should come during the overnight. So around San Antonio currently, you see these little green specks here. Those are some very light showers that have popped up across Medina County, far western Bexar County. This is nothing that'll wake the kids or the pets up if they're already asleep. This is just some very light rain and even a couple of showers up into parts of Kendall County there, south of Fredericksburg, between Sisterdale, Fredericksburg, and north of Kerrville. So let's go out to the west, because that is where we've got more thunderstorm action on radar as we switch over to our radar site that's near Brackettville. So just to reiterate, there are currently no severe weather watches or warnings in place for our area, and I don't anticipate a lot of that overnight. What we will have to watch is this storm here that's still technically in Mexico. So the Weather Service can't put out a warning on it until it starts to get closer to the border of the Rio Grande and then crosses over into Maverick County and the U.S. But this is potentially what could have some big hail in it. But the movement on it is more southeast. So Eagle Pass, the hail core here that we potentially have in this storm, looks like it's going to miss you and move southeast and kind of skirt the border here. So that's good news for Eagle Pass and Maverick County. I'll keep a really close eye on it. Elsewhere, we've got some non-severe storms with some lightning, rumbles of thunder from north of Eagle Pass all the way to Brackettville Highway 90. Even some lingering non-severe thunderstorm activity back near Del Rio and Comstock. So again, nothing severe at the moment, and I really just don't anticipate that overnight because we don't have the same kind of atmosphere that West Texas had earlier in the day, and that's why they saw all that severe weather. So let's run you through Futurecast one more time. This model's doing pretty good with the placement, right? That's about where we have the stronger storms at the moment, still west of Eagle Pass, west of the Rio Grande. It's a little bit farther north than those storms are currently, but it's got a pretty good general idea, and it continues to bring these storms east through the overnight hours. And again, just to reiterate, as these storms continue to pace east, they're going to run into some more stable air, and it's not air that helps to keep these storms going. So they're likely going to continue to weaken and fall apart as they move east toward the I-35 corridor. Again, I can't rule out a rumble of thunder or a flash of lightning, even some brief heavy rain, but I'm not concerned about any hail, damaging winds around San Antonio, New Braunfels, Canyon Lake. Not worried about that overnight. So if you're woken up by some rumbles of thunder, just know that's really probably going to be the biggest inconvenience overnight. By tomorrow morning, lingering light showers will be possible, a few sprinkles even through the afternoon, a high around 86 tomorrow. It'll take a while for the clouds to clear out, so we'll keep you mostly cloudy for much of the day, and also windy again on your Monday with gusts up to 25-30 miles per hour. Another windy day on Wednesday with isolated rain chances and then a scattering of some more thunder showers by Thursday this week. Guys.
Thank you, Katie. We will always take rain without hail.
We will. We'll be right back.
Mrs. Wang, hello.
Everything Everywhere All at Once climbed from 6th place into the top 5 this weekend on ticket sales of $5.5 million. The Northman pillaged its way to a repeat at 4th place with $6.3 million, while Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore held on to number 3 with $8.3 million.
I make this look good.
The Spiny Blue Speedster and his friends continued their hold on 2nd place as Sonic the Hedgehog 2 raced off with $11.4 million. That brings the sequel based on the video game to a 4-weekend total of $161 million.
You want some cake? You seem a little hangry.
DreamWorks' animated adventure The Bad Guys continued their capers at number 1 for the 2nd week in a row, making off with $16.1 million and bringing their 2-week haul to $44.4 million. In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
The NBA playoffs continue today as we move into the Western and Eastern Conference semifinals.
And San Antonio FC continues their dominance on the pitch by producing their highest scoring game in club history. With more on what's an instant replay tonight, let's head over to Greg Simmons.
They have been on a roll, and you can't stop them right now, especially that goalkeeper. And we'll get you ready for Canelo Alvarez's next fight coming up this weekend. It's all on a brand new edition of Instant Replay.
That's going to be a flagrant. No, yep, I agree. No question.
Only game 1, and the Warriors' Draymond Green gets ejected. The NBA playoffs resume today as we are in the semifinals of both the Western and Eastern Conference. Just 8 teams left of the NBA postseason, and San Antonio FC continues to dominate their opponents by scoring a club record 6 goals, another clean sheet for goalkeeper Jordan Farr. We got the highlights.
Here's now the new WBC Super Flyweight World Champion and still undefeated, Jesse
And we know when and where Jesse Bam Rodriguez's first title defense will be and against whom. I'll give you a hint, it's here in San Antonio this summer. And Canelo Alvarez climbs back into the ring this weekend against an undefeated Russian opponent. Should he be worried? Sports guys debate that. And did the NFL draft just expose the Texas football program for what it has become? Instant Replay is live, and it is next.
We'll look forward to it. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks for watching. Be sure to tune in to Good Morning San Antonio for all your latest overnight news.
And all new instant replay starts right now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a brand new edition of Instant Replay. The NFL draft is over after teams reloaded for the 2022 season. How did both the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans do? And what about our local athletes? Where are they headed? And the NBA playoffs continue with the second round games already underway as we narrow the field en route to an NBA championship. But first,
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis Law Firm.
two big surprises to the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL draft is that what they did not do, and that was trade up. They stuck with their original 9 picks, and they selected Tulsa's big 325-pound offensive lineman Tyler Smith first, who was expected to start at guard after losing both Connor Williams and Lael Collins to free agency. There were some that thought Smith went too high in the draft at number 24, but remember the Aggies' Kenyon Green had already been scooped up by the Houston Texans, who used their second pick in the first round to grab him. After Smith, the Cowboys used their second-round pick to grab edge rusher Sam Williams out of Ole Miss to help fill the void left by the departure of Randy Gregory, and then South Alabama wide receiver Jalen Tolbert in the third round. The busiest day for the Cowboys is on Saturday, where they had 6 picks, with 4 in the 5th round, where the Cowboys believe was the best round of the day. They started with a tight end and Jake Ferguson out of Wisconsin, and include another big offensive tackle and 6'8", 312-pound Matt Waletsko from North Dakota.
From my perspective, this is 3 draft classes now that we've stacked together that I think really holds the future bright for us. Draft and develop is the bloodline, lifeline of how you want to build your football team inside and out. Obviously, we were able to hit positions of need, and but I really like the way everything came together as far as putting the board together, and frankly, we were very disciplined and patient and stuck to our board.
All right, one other minor surprise, the Cowboys did not use their 6th pick in the draft to select a kicker even after they cut Greg Zuerlein. So here's a look at all the draft picks here for the Dallas Cowboys. Start first at Tyler Smith. Then there's Williams, Tolbert, Ferguson, Waletsko, and Bland, the defensive back out of Fresno State. Then in round 5, continuing, Damone Clark, the linebacker at LSU, John Ridgway, defensive lineman at Arkansas. They wrap it up in the 6th round, Devin Harper, linebacker out of Oklahoma State. The Houston Texans wound up with 9 picks after some wheeling and dealing by general manager Nick Caserio, and they did not pick a quarterback with any of those picks, meaning Davis Mills is their starter going forward. Now, the Texans used their first pick to select LSU quarterback Derek Stingley, by the way, Jr., with the 3rd overall pick in the draft, even though he was only played in 10 games in the last 2 seasons due to injuries, including just 3 games last season following foot surgery. Then one of the deals that Caserio made was taking their 13th pick overall, trading down with the Philadelphia Eagles to number 15. And they used that pick to select 2-time All-American lineman and Houston resident Kenyon Green out of A&M. One of the big gifts for the Texans came in the 2nd round when they grabbed Baylor safety Jalen Petrie, who played for the Bears for 5 seasons, was an All-American last year with 3.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 3 forced fumbles last season. While not upgrading at quarterback, the Texans did give Mills another target by drafting Alabama wide receiver John Mechie III, who has over 1,100 yards receiving and 8 touchdowns last year, but tore his ACL in the college football playoff semifinal, but says he'll be ready to go by training camp. One of the big needs for the Texans was at running back, where they used their 4th pick to select Damian Pierce out of Florida.
His energy is, and that's who he is. I mean, he plays with a lot of joy, he plays a lot of fight, he plays a lot of toughness, and his personality, I would say, transfers over to the football field.
All right, the Texans used 6 of their 9 selections to pick up players from the SEC. Here's a look at their draft picks as we go along. At number 1, there's Stingley, followed by Green, Petrie, Mechie III, Harris, and Pierce. That's the running back out of Florida we mentioned. The rest of them look like this, and they had, again, just 9 total, including Tegan Quintariano and Austin Daculis, the offensive lineman out of LSU.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. He won the book in high school, the best linebacker in college.
What a moment for former Jets and Rocket and fighting Texas Aggie DeMar Leal in front of his family and friends. He got the call. He's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. The defensive star had to wait until the 3rd round on Friday, but was more than pleased, beginning his NFL career.
I was really just waiting on time. I don't know if you saw my tweet, but I said God's timing is going to be unbelievable. So, just waiting, and then it happened. It was unexpected and gets the call. Of course, TV was behind just a little bit, so I had to still wait a little bit longer, but it was amazing.
You know, but as it turns out, DeMar was not the first local player selected in the NFL draft. It was former Steel star J.T. Woods out of Baylor, who went to the Chargers with the 79th overall pick. So here's all the local selections that took place in the NFL draft. Of course, Woods there first, followed by DeMarvin going to the Steelers. And then in the fourth round, Spencer Burford, offensive lineman out of UTSA, goes to the 49ers. And Tariq Woolen, drafted by the Seahawks in round 5, cornerback out of UTSA. Second round of the NBA playoffs tipped off today in the East. The Boston Celtics played host to Giannis Antetokounmpo, the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. Now, Celtics jump out to an early lead. Grant Williams with the miss, but Jaylen Brown throws down a dunk over Giannis to help the Bucks to a 7-point lead. But just before the half, Antetokounmpo scores 8 straight to put the Bucks up 10 at intermission. Celtics keep it close in the third. Jason Tatum's from downtown. Then Tatum lobs it to Rob Williams, who throw down the alley-oop, and the Bucks lead is cut to 5. But Giannis was too much to handle. Antetokounmpo tosses the ball off the backboard to himself and slams it down to finish with a triple-double, 24 points, 13 boards, and 12 assists. The Bucks take game 1 and steal home court advantage, 101-89. So here's a look at the Eastern Conference playoff picture here. Miami and Philadelphia go at it for game 1 tomorrow at 6:30. And Boston down early in their series, 1-0. Game 2 is on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. In the West, Steph Curry and the Warriors taking on Ja Morant and the Grizzlies. Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinals. This one gets physical early. Draymond Green with a hard foul on Brandon Clark. Actually grabs Clark's jersey, yanks him to the floor. Green gets ejected, then on his way out starts waving, egging on the fans. This game goes down to the wire, tied at 1:14, a little over a minute to play. Ja Morant on the baseline inbounds to Clark for a layup. Memphis back on top, 116-114, just over 30 seconds now to play. Klay Thompson answers with a three-pointer, 116, 117, 116. Warriors take the lead. Last chance for Memphis. Morant going hard to the rim, but he gets it up there, but it's no good. Warriors take game 1, home court advantage as well. The final from Memphis, 117-116, Golden State. So here's a look at the Western Conference playoff picture here for you. Phoenix and Dallas get going tomorrow. That's a late game at 9 o'clock. And it is Golden State and Memphis. The Warriors taking the series lead on the road, 1-0. Game 2 Tuesday at 8:30. What a complete dominance of San Antonio FC over Monterey Bay FC last night at Toyota Field. 6 different players scored a goal for San Antonio, setting a new franchise record for goals in a match. Elliot Collier scored the first one. He now has 3 goals in his last 4 matches. SAFC won 6-0, improving to 7-1-0, which has them ranked 2nd in the West. San Antonio has earned 21 points this season, which is tied for the best in the United Soccer League. SAFC squad went into Saturday's game to show that they can score multiple goals, considering most goals they have made in USL match this season with 2 so far. They won their last 3 matches by combined 3 total goals.
We told ourselves that we've been winning these. We need a break. We need to be up more by half. So we came out before halftime and we were like, we need to be 2-3 goals up so we can get a breather. You know, we've been winning by 1 or 2 goals, and I think we can do better than that.
Meaningful on all accounts, for sure. Like emotionally, mentally too. It's not like we're checking out, but it's more like, okay, it's affirming that we can score goals, seeing the ball hit the back of the net, multiple chances created. Yeah, it's affirming, and it also gives us just a new look at kind of how we are, and it kind of builds confidence in other areas kind of our game as well.
Goalkeeper Jordan Farr has been incredible. Last night he had 2 saves and prevented any goals from being scored yet again. This is Farr's 4th straight clean sheet of the season. Next up, they'll be on the road when they travel to Phoenix, take on Rising FC Saturday at 9:30. Time now for tonight's Instant Replay poll question. Who did a better job in the 2022 NFL Draft? Was it the Houston Texans or B, the Dallas Cowboys? Vote now. We'll have the results at the end of the show tonight. The sports guys have a lot to discuss tonight. Up next.
The coronation is complete! All hail King Canelo!
Cinco de Mayo weekend is coming up, and that means Canelo Alvarez is back in the ring. The sports guys have their takes, plus an update on when Bam Rodriguez will fight again to defend his world championship belt. How did the Cowboys and the Texans do in this year's draft, and what does it mean that the Texas Longhorns did not have a single player drafted for the first time in 8 years? Which current and former missions are making headlines, and what exactly happens when this fan tries to catch a foul ball? We'll show you, plus our latest Scholar Athlete of the Week when Instant Replay continues live next.